Hello and welcome back. So continuing on with our new terrain mesh builder.
Yep, we finished up the cleanup part, or at least the initial cleanup. Now we're going to start moving stuff around and implementing it slightly differently. Basically, inside the TerrainMeshBuilder, I'm going to take the part where I was initializing the vertices, UVs, triangles, and normals, move it up to the top. So we're going to do this part first. Now, from here, let's look at our mesh object. And where I said it is static here, I'm going to delete this and just set it up here is static equal to true. So that will take care of initializing the game object. I'm going to take the mesh render, slap that under the mesh object. Then I'm going to set our mesh renderer dot shared material equal to resources dot load. Now we need a path. This path is going to be materials /m underscore terrain, and we'll load that as a material. Now, I don't know if you've seen me do this yet in any of my tutorials, so let me explain kind of what's going on here. Basically, I'm allowed to load anything that is in a resources folder, but our material isn't inside of a resource folder. It's inside of a folder inside of the resources folder. So I can reference this material by typing materials /material. So basically I'm giving it the path. As long as whatever I'm loading exists inside of a resources folder somewhere, it can be any number of folders underneath of it. But it just has to live in a folder called resources at some point. So all I'm doing is adding the relative path from the resources folder to that material, or that asset, if you would. All right, mesh filter is still going to be the same here. And then I will take this one, drop that down, and I'm going to do this in a slightly new way. I'm going to do mesh filter dot shared mesh equals a new mesh, and I've got some things to initialize. Mostly name equal to terrain mesh, and then vertices equals base vertices dot to array, which means we no longer need this one. UV equals base UVs to array, which means we can get rid of this one. And, I can just copy this too. So, let's get rid of that first, or it's going to get mad. That will take care of triangles. And let's see, do I need any of the other ones? Nope, can get rid of that. Let's get rid of this one. And I'm trying to remember, I think we do calculate normals. I might be able to get rid of this. We'll test it, see if I can or not. I'll find out for sure. But so we've got our vertices, UVs, and triangles all initialized with our shared mesh. And then I'm going to set mesh equal to mesh filter dot shared mesh instead of mesh. From here, we need to set our position. Position is going to equal the position that we're going to pass in up here, which we haven't done yet. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to pass in a vector3 dot position. So instead of updating this particular mesh's position in the update, we're going to do it in the constructor. So we're going to take the position, going to multiply that by size minus 1 times spacing. And then from here, we need to load data, which is going to load our information from our train manager. But we don't have a load data method yet, so we need to create one. So now we've got a load data method, and we need to load data from our train manager. We don't have a train manager yet either, so we need one of those. So we're going to make a private static read-only train manager, train generator. I've been saying train manager, haven't I?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we need a train generator, not a train manager. Sorry, my bad. So we're going to create a train generator.
Right.
So now we've got our train generator. Let's see, if I remember right, I killed our vertices, UVs, and triangles. Not sure about normals yet, so we might come back and kill that later. And that means, well, no, can't do that yet. Darn, I wish I could have. All right, let me undo some stuff here. So I've got to get rid of those, and which means I need to set this up again. I got ahead of myself. I thought I was going to get really slick, and look at what happened. So Control C, follow your notes, and all right. So vertices here equals vertices, and technically I don't need to do this now because I'm going to do it the other way. All right, so we're just going to do our name, which means I don't need all this extra white space. Don't mind me as I code around in circles. And then update is doing normal, so I will put this back in. There. Now everybody's happy. Except me, because I was hoping to be slick. Didn't work. There goes my shot at looking cool for the day. Alright, now let's get back to load data. Inside load data, we're going to use a for loop. This will be int I equals 0 to our vertices dot length. From here, we'll make a variable or var v equals vertices sub I, or element I. Then we'll make var x equal to v dot x plus position dot x, and var dot z equal to v dot z plus position dot z. Basically, we're taking the vertices local positions because they're based around that local pivot point, and we're going to position it relative to world space, wherever it is in the world, so we can get the right information from our terrain generator. Another variable, var h equals our terrain generator dot get smooth height x by z. Then we'll go ahead and set vertices element I equal to a new vector 3 v dot x by h by v dot z. Remember to use the v dot x and the v dot z, unlike I did a couple of videos back in session 9 where I sent the world positions in instead of the local ones and had a big mess. So that was interesting to try to figure out why everything was double transformed. But once we've loaded our data, we want to call update. So that will take care of that. Now, let's see. TerrainMeshBuilder is never assigned. Of course not, because we have to go into our static now and say terrain generator equals new terrain generator. So that should take care of that. While we're here as well, let's go into size and spacing, which is going to live inside of config, which is currently hiding inside our VMT versions. If I bring this over here, terrain 10, terrain exporter, our config file, this config ini file. Drag and drop this up here so we have access to it. Our patches for this system are not going to be a vertex count of 9. We're going to be exporting these out as asset bundles, which means we can use much larger patch sizes. So we're going to use a vertex count of 51 in this case. Everything else will stay the same though. So, and we could remove all the unneeded information, but it's not hurting anything. So technically the stuff that we need are going to be our world settings and our world generator settings, not specifically the train manager and vertex cache because we don't have them yet. But it's nice to have all these settings so if we come back and implement our vertex cache, we don't have to worry about some of this other stuff. And it's, like I said, not hurting anything, so it's not the end of the world. Alright, from here, we should have everything we need to literally build out a patch. We can test it by just saying start new train, let's see, train mesh builder, and there's our builder. We need a position, so vector 3.0. So build that, no errors, jump over to Unity, and cross my fingers, hit play, and watch things explode. Alright. Max height entry was not found. World data texture was not found. Null reference error. Wow, all kinds of problems, aren't we? Alright. So let's look at our config here, which we've already opened. So current path config, alright. What are you not happy with? Max height was not found. And world texture was not found. Well, world texture is in resources. Ah, yeah, I put it under textures. Alright, so that makes sense. So we're going to have to fix that. Max height, on the other hand, I was not expecting. Alright, so let's go to config world data. We'll change this to be textures / world data. And we've got max height right there. And our train generator, int max height, get int max height. Alright, so let's see, clear, play. So it seems like it's not finding the file at all. Not just that. So config folder, there's train exporter, there's config, here's the ini file.
And that any file, excuse me, that any file does have content in it. Okay.
Yeah, because that's this one right here.
Yeah,
just
just making sure.
It.
Yeah, just making sure though.
And it is the one I was modifying. So why are you not happy? So config current folder, current directory. Well, let's test something. I'm going to take this file and I'm going to rename it. Basically, I'm over here and I'm going to rename this so it can't find it. If it can't find it, then technically it should
give you a new one. It's empty.
Yes. So it's not. Now that is interesting. So somehow my config file broke. Alright, debug statement time. What's the path that it's trying to put this thing into? Alright, so config settings, if exists, full path, this. So debug.log full path. D projects 30 bus, Terrain R&D, VTM version, Terrain 10, Terrain exporter config. That is correct. For the full path for the folder. Now, so that's the config file. So it's checking to see if the directory exists.
Well, let's do this. Let me go ahead and hit pause real quick.
Pause.
Yep, here we go. Okay, we're back, and go ahead and tell them what it was.
Well, you know, sometimes those trees really, really hurt when you run into them at about 60 miles an hour. And you forget to look at the forest, namely telling the config to load settings.
Yeah.
So it actually loads the settings before we try to access them. You know, we still got another error. Oops, hold on. Double clicking all over the place. So config file not found, obviously. So because if we go back, here's our config file. It's been renamed. So let's go ahead and change that. Drag and drop this back up here. So we have access to it. Go back in here. Clear. Rebuild just to make sure that it finds everything. Hit play.
Hey, it's taking longer.
Yeah, should be initializing the train generator. And I see something back there. I see a patch. There's a patch. And there. I'll turn it back on the perspective so it doesn't look so funky. Alright, so we have a patch. And it happens to be a big patch with lots of vertices.
Cool.
So that is working, minus, you know, the little brain lapse session. But that is basically where I wanted to get to about 5 minutes ago.
Okay.
But so that's it for the second part of our TerrainMeshBuilder. So what we're going to do next, I think, is visit the game manager again.
That's right.
So we're going to just add a little bit more code in the game manager because we want to be able to build more than a single one of these patches.
Your notes for the game manager when we get to that video weren't make sure to add in the config stuff first.
Well, that's part of it, but, you know, I just wanted to get the mesh going.
Right, I understand.
And then the game manager has, this stuff in it, so I just forgot to do it.
It's all
Especially
good.
when it's sitting there, it's like, the second line, config.load settings.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Okay, well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap up this video, and we'll see you guys in the next.